fishing this gravel pit on my own today. I had a good look about this morning, and when I got around to this area there was a lot of silverfish showing. There was a couple of grebes, there was a cormorant. I don't think the pike are too far away from the silverfish, so a good place to start. It's only going to be a short session, but this area's been kind to me in the past. I've had a lot of upper doubles. I ain't had a 20 from this swim, but hopefully I'll get amongst a fish or two. Off the mark with this pretty little fish. That took half a lamprey section. Hopefully there's more to come. I'm pleased with that. I've got to get her back. Lovely. Another nice little pike, pretty colour. A bit of foliage in his mouth. He spat a piece of lamprey, what I caught him on, he spat at me. Angry little fella. But there you go. Another nice autumnal pike. Lovely. I'll slip him back now. Well, I've had 5 takes. I landed 3 fish. I've had 2 sort of between the 7 and 8 pound mark. I had 1 tiny little pike that weren't much bigger than the bait. One of the ones I lost felt heavy, so I'm disappointed with that. I've got to give it another half hour just to see how it goes. So there's still a chance of another fish, but that's nice to get some action, and you never know, I might get some more. Well, that's it. I'm now going to pack up. I didn't get any more fish. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thanks for watching, and let's see how it pan out on another day. Well, I managed to finish work early today, so I'm taking the opportunity to have 2 or 3 hours fishing on this particular pit. It's the second biggest one on the complex. It's just over 20 acres. I've fished it the last couple of years, but not much. I haven't had nothing big, and out of all the gravel pits on this complex, this is the one that get fish the least for pike. So it's a bit of a mystery. No one really know what's in here. It's got a history from years ago of doing big pike, so hopefully things sort of run in cycles, and you never know, that might come back one day. I ain't had no indications yet, but like I say, I got 2 or 3 hours fishing, and hopefully I'll get a fish or two. pike, not very big, small life 4, that's pretty fish. Covered in some autumnal leaves. Pretty little fish, about £8. Thought like a good one, and I've got to get it back. Happy days. Well, that's nearly it for me. This short session has now come to a close. I've really enjoyed it. I've had 3 pike and lost one. I did get one for the camera. It was around the £8 mark, but it's been really nice on these lovely calm conditions watching the floats. And when you see it slide, there's not a better feeling in the world when you watch the old float slide away. I love that. But it'll be interesting to see as the winter develops and progresses, to see if we get anything decent from these gravel pits. I'm sure we will, but unless anything happens in the next 10 minutes, that's going to be it for this session. Well, that's now mid-November, and we've experienced our first real sharp frost. It's very cold today. On the way here it was -2, which imagine that's crept up to real low single figures at the moment, but I've got to give it a go. I'm on my own again, but we'll just have to see what happens. Pike in miniature. Don't even have to unhook it. I don't mind them ones. Let's get him back. Well, I'll just run you through my ledger set up for gravel pit piking. Right, I'll start off with the business end. I've got half a mackerel mounted on 2 size 4 semi-barb trebles. They're the Drennan Esox ones. I've put a couple of flags on the bits with the barbs on. And they're on a 40-pound Fox trace. And get to the ledger. A 2.5 ounce ledger on a running rig with a boom. The braid I'm using is 30 kilograms, so it's quite hefty, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And the reel, the Shimano medium long casts. I mean, they're run-of-the-mill reel, but they're definitely good enough for the job. And the rod, the old Drennan Esox Piker 12-foot bait rod. I had some decent fish on that. It's all down to preference, a lot of this, but this kit seemed to work for me. Another really important part of pike fishing is bite indication. On this ledger setup, I tend to use a back bite indicator and a front buzzer. Some people have a back buzzer, a drop off. I tend to use a front one. Again, it's just down to preference. I use these, I think they're Pete Foster drop offs. I think they come from Radical Angling. Been using them about 3 years now, and I get on really well with them. The weight, they seem to be weighted perfect. Because if a pike move my lead and come back towards me, that's going to give it one of these. And on the second hand, it picks the bait up and go away from you. It's going to give you the classic take like that, which every pike will love the sound of that. Drop off indicator hitting the bank stick. There's no better sound there. I tend to fish right tight up against the lead, so any movement on the lead or anything, I'm going to get some sort of indication. I'm using the Fox MXR Plus bite alarms. I'm in two minds about them, whether to go back to my Daltons or not. They're alright, but I'm still in two minds with them. So hopefully these will drop off and I'll have a fish to show you later. The most important thing about pike fishing is the pike's welfare. If you've never been before and you do fancy a go, just go with someone who's got some experience in unhooking and handling pike. They're probably the most vulnerable freshwater fish out there in my opinion, and not handled correctly they will just go belly up and die. So always go with someone who's got some experience. I can't stress that enough. Always make sure you've got the correct tools and equipment for the job in hand. For example, a decent set of forceps. I tend to use these long nose pliers, but again it's down to preference. A decent set of cutters, because you never know, you might get a flying treble that get caught up in the net and you need to cut it out of the way quickly. A decent landing net. I tend to use the rubber mesh nets because if the hooks go in them they're a lot easier to get out than the soft mesh ones. And a decent unhooking mat. Another important thing is striking reasonably early. So rather sitting there waiting for a bite to develop for 20 or 30 seconds, hit it pretty quick. This has got to eliminate the chances of deep hooking a fish. It's not guaranteed of course. And again, if you strike early and you lose it, just tell yourself it's a jack, because that's what I do. I haven't done much videoing of late. Now back to work after the Christmas break. And it's now the 9th of January. Managed to finish work early, so I'm going to squeeze a couple of hours in dead baiting in this afternoon. I've had a lot of wet stuff of late, real lot of rain, and it's really coloured these gravel pits up. So I've got a couple of really stinky dead baits on, and got to stick them out there for a little while and see how we get on. I'm just going to run you through my float setup for fishing gravel pits, albeit that doesn't really change from a river fish to be fair as well. Reel wise, I'm using a Shimano 6000. This is the XT 6000 RB, a decent reel. Braid, 30 kilogram braid. I like that's hefty, but that ain't gonna let you down. The rod I'm using today is a Fox Rage Predator deadbait 12-foot rod, 2 3/4 test, and I tend to fish I don't know if you can see that, a stop knot to the depth required, and below that will be a bead, a small bead, followed by a float. In this case I'm using one of these Predator darts, 35 gram Predator darts. Have very good visibility. Another bead and a sinker, followed by a quick release swivel for my trace. Today's bait I'm using a stinky old heron, mounted on 2 size 4 trebles, and see how it get on. I tend to use I just stand my rods up on a rest really. The bite alarms are there, but that's definitely more of a visual bite indication when you're float fishing, not an audible one. Although I have had times where I've been pouring a cup of tea out my flask and looking away, and you hear your bite alarm, but I would not rely on that. I'd definitely rely on more of a visual rather than an audible bite indication when float fishing. It's just there to hold my rods in place really. Fishing on a gravel pit this morning. There's still plenty of snow about. Quite surprised it's not frozen, to be honest. There's a lot of rain coming later. I'll probably get rid of this white stuff, but it's now getting towards the end of the pike season, so this might be my last visit. I haven't done particular well this season or this winter on these gravel pits. The only double I did get, I didn't get on camera, so I've just been mainly jacks. So I'm going to have a go today and hopefully catch a fish. Well, I've now been fishing about 4 hours. I've had no action. It's now turned really bright. The snow was melting. It's quite mild. I now took my jacket off. But I'll give it another couple of hours and see how it pan out. Well, that's my gravel pit piking pretty much wrapped up for this winter. That ain't gone as how I planned it to go. Over the previous years I've done quite well, to be fair. I've had fish up to 20 pounds, so it's not too bad, but this winter has just been a bit of a struggle, to be honest with you. I've had fish, but most of them came in the autumn when the fish are more active. I'll be back again next winter to give it a good go, but thanks for watching, and tight lines.